Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 10, Buckeye Bar Guys here on the Buckeye Bar Talk Network. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Big show tonight. We're going to go over today. Larry Johnson did his press conference. Today is the 7th of October, so he had his press conference today. We're officially Jalen Marshall, number 17 days out from the kickoff, so we're pretty excited about that. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm good. 17 days till kickoff, so I'm excited about that. Jalen Marshall did change his number to 7, though.
I know, but that was I found that one. 17. I like the.
Well, that was the national title year, so
I have more choices at 7 than I did at 17.
You got a lot more choices at 7, a lot better choices
So.
at 7. No, 17's that's a good fit for Jalen Marshall. But no, I mean, weather was good today. It was a nice day out there, beautiful day. October 7th, like you said, so we're getting into the heart of fall right now.
Mm-hmm.
Football's roaring, bonfires.
High school playoffs because of the weird year. They're getting ready to start this week here in Ohio. So
Yeah, like everyone can be in it, right?
Yeah. Everybody, it's up to them if they want to choose or not. I believe every of the Division Ones, all the 4 regions for Division One, all have 16 teams, and then it's like bumps up. I don't know how many divisions it bumps up for, but I know for like 2 and 3, there's like 22 teams per region.
I guess this is maybe a good type of like indicator how it would work in college to see if you still end up with your best team even or however that would work out, because I know a lot of people, the 18 playoff did get shut down, and I know a lot of people were upset and a lot of people were happy about that because they said 8's too many, and that just kind of inundates everything with too much football and teams that don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
But no.
I still don't believe in the whole, out of 130, whatever.
8 teams would be that big of a deal.
I still have never fallen into the thing. I think once you get past, I've always been of the notion once you get past 8, that's where it gets to too much. I've never been a fan of a 16-team playoff unless we did something like along our lines.
Right, where you're getting all good teams League, in there. I don't know. I mean, half the time I want 8 teams. I think that's awesome. Like, it would be cool to have more teams, more games. And there have been plenty of times that teams that, are 5, 6, 7, and 8, they could still compete with number 1. But then the last couple years, you got your Oklahomas that they're number 4, and it looks like it should only be a 3-team playoff.
Yeah. And pretty sure if Oklahoma makes it this year, we need to scrap the whole thing and go back to the BCS, because
if Oklahoma makes it this year, it was a bad year for a lot of teams.
Yeah. That'd be a really awful year for a lot of teams, because I think there'd have to be several of these teams at this point would have to have a real nosedive for them.
Gosh. Yeah, it would be
for Oklahoma to be in it.
For Oklahoma to get themselves back in the playoffs, this would have to be a really, really bad year for a lot of guys. So.
All right.
But how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Like you said, weather's was pretty good today. So
I've been wanting to watch like horror movies lately.
Yeah, Halloween. I've never been the biggest horror movie fan of the genre. I like different mystery movies and suspenseful movies. I do like suspense movies. So some of that stuff's been on. So some of those are.
It's the time of year. I like Halloween movies right
now. Yeah. Every now and then. I won't lie. If you get a good Jason or Mike Myers Halloween on, you watch it.
I was going to tease you and say Hocus Pocus doesn't count. Neither does Beetlejuice.
I don't know about Beetlejuice should count, but that's
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I saw
definitely a Halloween movie.
Yeah,
excellent.
I saw one of the, I think it's Paramount Network. They have Halloween movies on.
Yeah, they do
every day of the week for Halloween for October. I saw one of them was The Dark Knight. Now, don't get me wrong, I love The Dark Knight. I'm just like, I don't know if that's kind of like Die Hard as a Christmas movie, but
at least Die Hard happened around Christmas. Batman that's just because he wears a costume. Like, Batman's not a Halloween movie at all.
I know. All right, so
we're off track.
We're getting a little off track. I think we could probably talk about movies too all night long. So
absolutely.
Try to get this thing moving. Just get this before we get the show started. Just want to remind everybody to please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit the all notifications. Hit the like. Leave us comments. We'll respond back to comments. We'll read. we'll definitely read a few on the show. Same thing if you're listening on the podcast channels. If you're listening to the audio version, they allow you to leave a comment, go ahead and leave the comment. Make sure whatever channel of you're choosing, we're on, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, pretty much all the major ones. So whatever of you're choosing, whatever you listen to your podcast, subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the Facebook pages, Twitter page, Instagram page. We're on all the major social media networks or sites. So we'd just love to hear you guys. Leave us comments.
We're pretty much on all the major podcast providers now, too. So you guys can hear us anywhere.
Yeah. So give us a good, listen to us, communicate with us. We love to hear from you guys.
5-star.
Yeah.
Cinco Estrellas.
Yeah.
Bilingual tonight.
Yeah. The highest the rating can be, throw that up.
Don't rate me on my Spanish, please.
So to get into the show tonight, we're going to start with, we had a commitment the other day from an offensive tackle.
Boom.
Yeah, big boom. Zen Michalski out of Floyd Knobs, Indiana. He went to goes to Floyd Central High School. He is listed at, I have it right here, he is 6'6", 288 pounds. This is according to 247 Sports. 247 Sports has him as a 4-star. The composite, which takes all the major the major sites, recruiting numbers, puts him in as a 3-star. A high 3-star.
Yeah.
So, it's a big get. He was committed to Louisville, right? It was Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he decommitted from Louisville. There's always one of these kids every year where, he wasn't necessarily on Ohio State's radar earlier because, Ohio State's looking at a lot of different kids. Now, people have started committing. Ohio State's been removed from some of the lists. So now they're starting to move in. Doesn't mean this kid's not deserving of the offer. Every year you hear from some Buckeye fans, it's kind of a reach there at that. If Ohio State wants him, he's earned a scholarship offer to Ohio State. They're not just throwing it out to anybody. And I
still think, and maybe you would agree with me, if there's somewhere in which obviously, if you're a top program, you want to get top guys, you want guys 4 or 5 stars. But if there's somewhere that you're fine building your depth around 3 stars, it's probably offensive linemen. And of course, you got 5-star tackles to help him out. But I like it. He's earned some big offers. I know they haven't been huge, but I know Florida State was on there, which of course, looking at the state of their program, I'm not sure how good of an offer that is, but his highlight film, tape's good on him, good size to him, 6'6", 288, you said. Of course, if you're gonna, kind of go for a reach or try to figure out a project, if it's going to be a tackle, at least get him to the right height that you want him to be, because uncharacteristically tall guards is a thing that happens. Short tackles isn't really something that you see that often.
No,
so,
definitely not.
I don't think it was much of a reach. I think it was a good pick, but definitely I think they went in the right direction, and you want to build that depth there. It's kind of like they got a bunch of 3-stars this year for offensive tackle, and it was fine.
Yeah.
And they're going to be fine.
I've always said, I know some people really on every position gets really hardcore into the star ratings and stuff like that. I do too. I always look at them. If you're going to judge some, that's what you judge Ohio State by, as how many 5 and 4-star kids they get.
Ohio State doesn't want a rebuilding year,
but some of these kids that are 3 stars, lower 4 stars, you don't really, a lot of them you don't know to begin with, because I'm telling you right now how a lot of these recruiting rankings go by. The recruiting people, guys at these websites, they're not just sitting around looking at Zen Michalski. They look at him. He looks like a 3-star, 4-star. So, he's right.
And they pay a lot of attention to the guys that they believe are 5 stars.
Yeah. And, and it's always hard to judge. Lineman is the hardest position, I think, to judge star-wise, because, these guys, all these positions that go to the major Division I, they always look like they're out of place in high school football to begin with, for the most part. But the linemen really look like they're out of place.
A D1 size lineman, it's high school football. very, very often you're going against an undersized defensive line. That's just how it is. Or if it's guys that have any size, they're probably not the most in shape kids. So that's something that really, like you said, that is a very, very hard position to gauge, to evaluate, just because those ones that are that talent, are that size, they're usually not going up against anything near like the stratosphere of the competition that they're going to be in college. So it takes them a little bit of time.
We didn't light any worlds on fire playing high school football, but we played for a D1 school in high school. So, you go up against D1 talent. I've seen kids that have went to Ohio State. I was on a practice squad as a kid, a couple times as a kid that went to Ohio State, for our high school. So, when you're on the lines, there's just so much of a difference. We had my offensive line in high school, to me, was a big offensive line. And then,
mine was undersized.
You see some of these guys, these guys would dwarf my team.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
they're big dudes.
Huge dudes. You just get it's just so hard to judge them. And I think especially offensive linemen, it's the hardest out of all of them to judge. A good star to begin with.
Offensive linemen, you want your numbers that belong on an FBS program. So I think that's the most important thing, is that you have that depth that you can build around that. If you do have a couple misses, you're going to hit on somebody, especially Ohio State. They are especially a team I'm fine with this stuff because they got Mick. They got like the ultimate equalizer. They got the best strength and training program in the country. So you get those big guys training, you get stud working with them, but you get them strong, you get them mean, and I have nothing but confidence for them.
And actually, I kind of like at times the guys that are in the lower 4-star, 3-star at the offensive line, because offensive line is the one position on your field that you have to gel as a whole unit. And And sometimes I think when they give these kids 5 stars and stuff, it puts them at a disadvantage going into, because if it doesn't gel right, there's no point in putting. I don't care how good the kid is. If he can't gel with the other 4 guys on the line, he's not. It doesn't work.
Right.
And it's the hardest position to really get yourself onto the field, because again, you're looking for an entire cohesion of a unit. You basically have to all read each other's. You have to read each other pretty much their whole thoughts. You got
to be able to help the guy next to you as much as you're helping yourself.
Basically, Wyatt Davis and Josh Myers, these guys, they know what each other's probably thinking half the time, because, they don't even have to point out probably.
Let's go kill that linebacker.
Yeah. They probably don't have to. You almost don't have. The center's supposed to be the guy that's pointing everything out. But, the best offensive lines, that's just for show. These guys all know. They all know what you're all thinking.
Yeah.
They know who they're supposed to take and who's your. And you have to take 3 different guys, and who's coming up and who's not. Who you take and the next guy takes, and so it's not easy to be an offensive lineman. Where a lot of the other skills position, it's. Again, it's a team sport. Everybody has to be on the same page, or you're not going to win. But, the receivers and the running backs, they can get away with, just their God-given talent at times.
Yes.
Especially until they really get into the upper echelons, into the NFL and in the big Division I college games, the big FBS games. But, so.
Well, we saw it last year. Guys like, Master Teague, he could run for huge touchdowns against Northwestern. Even Wisconsin, he had a decent run against. Yeah. But you go up against like Clemson, and he'll tell you, he told us on this press conference, he didn't have the game he wanted to have. He didn't have anywhere near what he should have had in that game. So, that's kind of like the thing what you're talking about is, these skill positions, they can use that, God-given talent, but we saw Isaiah Prince sometimes, and I hate the name drop, and I don't want to be insulted.
And he was a big time,
He
was a
huge recruit. Yeah. Huge recruit. Best player out of Maryland, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, and 1 or 2.
Yeah, I know. Maybe he wasn't. Different sites give you different.
He's still up there.
Rankings,
he was a high 4-star.
One of the top
I know
guys.
that.
One of the top guys. And I saw him against lesser talent. Looked like he was a revolving door some of the time. So.
Yeah. And so there's just so much of a thought. So that's basically, I just want people to take away from this. You're listening. Don't necessarily get caught up. If they feel he's good enough to earn a scholarship offer, they're not reaching at the position. They feel like, trust me, there's plenty of good high 3-star that are in the same boat as him, that if they felt one of them was better than him, that they'd be getting that guy.
Wouldn't you say they built enough tackle depth in 20?
Oh, yeah.
For at least a year or two that they wouldn't have to go get this guy if they didn't think that.
I definitely believe so.
I mean, I do think it might be in response to the fact that they do believe that they're out of the race for Tristan Lee.
Yeah, I think that could be too.
So maybe he's the next best guy that they saw that will commit right now.
Yeah, and of course, if Tristan Lee decides he is going to commit, I mean, you never know with that neither.
Then Zen's just icing them.
Yeah, then now you have a really good recruit. Like, but
now Alabama has no chance to take over the top spot.
Yeah,
from you.
So. I mean, I like him. I watched some stuff this week of him. I listened to him a little bit. He was been on a couple of the different media people interviewed him. So I'm pretty psyched about it. I mean, I love line recruits. I mean, like I said, it's just to me, it's the hardest position in my opinion to play on the football field because you just have to be in so much in sync with what the other guy next to you is.
It's very mental.
And I mean, there's literally, I remember, like I said, just from playing high school offensive line, you just remember, I mean, you could have like 3 different guys you have to block on any single play, and it just kind of depends what gap they're lining up and all that stuff. So it's completely, I mean, it's just different. So I'm pretty psyched. I'm glad.
It's a good get. It really is. Be excited for it.
So then we had this week, and I'll just pull it up. We had Ryan Day last week and Justin Fields. They had their press conference. We kind of wanted to get into it a little bit, just to kind of go over it. I thought kind of just kind of the funny things out of it. That the biggest headlines, the 2 biggest headlines of the whole thing was the coaches aren't living with, some of the coaches aren't living at home. And then Justin Fields is the vegan. So
I wonder if that's Ryan Day specifically because he has young children.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I mean,
I don't know. I'm assuming Heartline must have some young kids.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean,
I don't think Tony Alford has young kids. I think they're all high school.
Yeah. From the way Day made it sound like it's not like it's a requirement that they have to.
Oh yeah, no.
And of course, it might be a requirement. He might just be good at lying to the camera, but.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. They have young kids. I mean, they can only have so many, positive COVID tests, and then before, they have to miss a game because they have too many positives. So.
Did I hear Justin say, though, that he has bagels with cream cheese in that interview? I swear I did when they were asking him about his vegan diet.
I have to go back. I wasn't listening to all the.
Maybe they said vegan cream cheese and I missed it, but
it might have been vegan
cream cheese ain't vegan.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't live that lifestyle. I never could, but
yeah,
I do think I know some things about it. I don't think cream cheese qualifies as vegan.
No, definitely not. So just to kind of go over just a couple of things. So he kind of, Ryan Day, kind of Mr. Ice. I mean, he shows emotions, but he doesn't show emotions.
Yeah.
I kind of, just kind of getting off my first just feel of him is he kind of is like an in-between of Trussell and Meyer when it comes to press conferences where Trussell dances around a circle and tells you nothing. Meyer said it right to your face and still told you nothing.
Urban was much more direct, but to Trussell's credit, Trussell was hilarious.
Yeah. Trussell always found a way to throw a good insult in there at times without saying an insult.
He would make you laugh. Yeah. So. Urban wasn't really funny, but
yeah,
he was much more direct.
Much more direct. But again, they never really said anything. They just had different styles of not saying anything.
Ever since Day, though, they've been really close to the vest, pun intended, I guess, for Trussell, unintended. But yeah, they've all been that way. Like Ryan tells them to say nothing.
Yeah. So just to kind of go over a couple of things, just kind of do point by point, just to see what you feel. So he talked about that he felt like things are coming a little easier for Justin. Obviously, Justin's been now in the program for,
this will be 2 years.
This is his second full year, had a great season last year.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about, when we talked about our quarterback breakdown last, a couple episodes ago. I mean, there's still things he can improve on, but
sure.
He's definitely and the way Coach Day made it sound like he's definitely becoming more of a student of the game.
Yeah, no, I took that from that too. That Justin's asking a lot more questions, he said, and that, he wants to figure out more so like why things are going on. So situationally, he's growing as a quarterback, which, that is a good thing, that he's asking why you're doing that. He's thinking more about it, breaking things down more in his head, really, like you said, becoming a student of the game. So that's a good thing. You want your quarterback thinking like that. Of course, you don't want him thinking too much that it's stopping, his decision making, but I don't think it will with Justin. I think that he's still going to be just as sharp as ever. But to go on top of that now, he understands kind of like the breakdown of the game in front of him a little bit more. So I think it's going to be better for him as a quarterback, that he's going to be able to go through reads a lot quicker, and he's going to understand why he's doing things and where else he can go if something's not there for him.
Yeah, that's the kind of how I feel too. And so much of, again, just becoming, and which it'll be sound like once we get into the defensive line conversation here in a little bit. Becoming a student of the game. I think I heard that like 20 times, from those guys today. And
before we get more into this, though, the coaches, and I know they're all bright guys, but these have been some excellent press conferences from the position coaches.
Oh yeah,
and some of their players have been great too. Most of their players have been great. You'll probably talk about it more later. It's definitely a rough atmosphere that they're doing these press conferences in, and that
I'm trying to avoid it.
Is it the laundry room?
I don't know. It's like
there's so much banging going around in those press conferences.
I just try not to go on a tangent on that. I just don't get it when you're doing everything remote and video conference, why they can't. They have coaches' offices.
There's got to be somewhere
Why can't
better.
they be sitting in their office and be doing their press conference?
I guess I think it's that they don't have a lot of technology that they can do too many different places at once, but there's got to be a solution for this.
It's not that hard on the tech.
I've
seen some of the videos that their video programming, their video department puts out, so I know that they're pretty tech savvy over there. So you think that they could.
Well, what's wrong where they normally do the press conferences at?
I don't know. Well, I think I'm not going to speculate. I think they normally do their press conference in the big meeting room. So I'm wondering if they're still in there. It's just now they're not giving as much crap about what's going on.
I don't
you
know.
can hear like weightlifting in the background, so it kind of seems like that they're by the weight room at times. And
I think it's the laundry room, because I heard Jerry said something about, I think it was the first one. He's like, sorry, guys, there was like 5 loads of laundry that they threw down the chute. So I know it's rough, but sorry. But anyway, outside of that, the players have been great. Coaches especially have been great. I've enjoyed every single one I've watched so far. Combs, Hartline, Tony Alford was really funny on his.
Yeah.
Larry Johnson, of course, was amazing today. Ryan Day's done great, though. So, yeah, they were all good, though. But, no, sorry, you can go back to what you were saying.
No, it's about being a student of the game at this point now. And I think Justin, he is going to show his improvements this year to where he needs to improve on. It wasn't a lot. It's just now the game, the game will start slowing down more for him. He's more familiar with these plays and stuff, which it's going to make the whole offense even more dangerous than it was last year, because now he's going to have a much better feel where everybody is on the field.
Oh yeah. And they're going to get open so much.
Yeah. So going back onto Justin, he talked about how, basically because somebody asked him about, the freshman quarterbacks, kind of how much they're getting in and stuff. And, right now the main priority is getting Justin ready. And, it is what it is. I know a lot of people always, I always get a big kick when I see people like fans and stuff asking about, the backup quarterbacks. And even for pro teams, they're asking, there's only so many reps that they get in so much time. And, right now it's about, they have a goal to win the national title. So, yeah, you want the kids to be ready if one of them, God forbid, has to come in. But, it is what it is on that. The priority is Justin. You have to make sure Justin's ready for the season.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, backup quarterback. That's a position you hope never takes any meaningful snaps during a season. So there's not really much you can do to prepare for that. You need that quarterback to be taking as many first team, snaps as he can.
We'll get more into this on the next episode, because we'll be talking about the linebackers on the next episode. But he did. Somebody asked him. It was announced last week that Pete Warner's now the will linebacker and not the Sam anymore. So which is it's a different positioning for him. So I mean, I think we'll get more into our opinions on that next week. But Dave feels that he's going to do fine at it.
I think he'll do fine too. He's a great linebacker.
I mean, I think he's one of those guys. I think that unfairly takes a lot of crap from some Buckeye fans at times. I mean, last year when he played, I mean, as the unit, they all did. None of them had a great game against Clemson last year. So I mean, you can't say that any one of them was worse than the other one. I mean, that was kind of the middle of the defense. I thought was the bad part of it. So I mean, but besides that, he had a great season. I mean, I thought he did really well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think he's your most versatile linebacker at this point. So I think you need him in that position that he's going to be going against the run and pass. So yeah, I like him at the will. That's a good move. Don't be upset by that one either.
Big kind of thing is asked him. Somebody asked him on what he thinks on scholarships for next year. Of course, everybody knows that this season's basically a redshirt year for everybody. It doesn't count, even though it counts, but it doesn't count. So they anybody's eligible to come back next year, regardless, as long as they're eligible in every other aspect of playing college football. Their grades and they got to be going to school and stuff like that. They can come back. So he's been asked a few times. He says he doesn't think they're going to have a problem staying at 85, under 85 for next year. I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach with that because right now we just don't know who's going to want to come back and he's not going to want to come back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure. I mean, if they are eligible to come back, if they have a really good year, they're not coming back. So that's like if your Tough Borlands or even the guys beneath them. Like if Taraja Mitchell shows that he should be, second, third round linebacker this year, Taraja Mitchell's going to go. So I don't think you're going to get too much of you're not going to get too jammed up by it, but there are going to still be some position groups that you might still be in the same boat as you are in this year.
Going off, of course, we talked about already that, the kind of the big thing that came out of this press conference, at least the thing that it seemed like that everybody was really harping on was that, nobody, they have coaches that aren't actually living at home right now because of the COVID, kids, because they have young kids are at school, I always joke around kids are like Petri dishes and,
they really are.
They share everything with each other. So, but he talked about some of the other COVID-19 precautions. He basically said the teams that handle it the best are the ones that are going to be at the end of the year. And I think that's kind of seems like with anything else. If you are handling your business, then you're prepared for it. They have to have so many different. Like he didn't get into like anything specific because he doesn't really do that. But he said they have to have a lot of different backup plans in place. What if a coach gets it? What if he gets it?
Right.
And, so he kind of talked about, they're working through all that stuff and, they have to have whose responsibilities, what if somebody has to sit as a coach has to sit out. So, there's other aspects to somebody COVID-19, a positive test than just the players. And that's the coaching staff too. If Ryan Day would end up getting a positive hit on it. Who's coaching the team? It's stuff. So
scary to think about. They'll be fine though. They're ready for that.
They're going to be fine on that. It's just it makes you think about just on any other season though. You have like there's so many things to go into probably coaching a major FBS program that's want to go play for a national title.
Right.
And everything that goes with the season. And now you have to think about, now it's like just throwing something else on your plate that, what are all of our protocols for, what happens if this happens?
Yeah.
So, and then let's see. Basically, and then just going off of that, he talked about, different NFL. The pro teams, there's pro teams that are having success with it, so they can have success with it, with making sure they stay healthy, follow their protocols. He did say that both Proctor and Marcus Hooker are, could very easily see the field together. He's not the first person to mention that. So I think that's kind of interesting. It seems like from just reading between the tea leaves and some insiders on some of the other some of the Buckeye websites that it seems like they're still going to try the the corner and the slot, but there's going to be some movement. Possibly now you're going to have second safeties in there because and they're kind of going back to how the old way, the original way you think about playing a football. You play with two corners and two safeties, and then if a nickelback comes in, that's your third corner.
Well, and also what I read, and we're not on DB, so we're not going to go much into this, but something that I thought read also was that you might have the situation where Proctor goes down to pretty much the Sam, and you would have Hooker come in as that deep safety because he's a little bit rangier of a player. So I think that's a real possibility that they're going to do something like that. So you might see the elusive bullet more this year.
Yeah, I definitely think it seems like, and Combs mentioned this a couple. I think Al Washington mentioned it. I mean, it seems like they're really all harping on rotation and depth, and
we got to have it, especially this year. But you got to have it every year to be a top team.
Yeah, and so I mean. And the way I always look at it, outside of quarterback and, your offensive line, where you really want to just have your guys, who your guys are, and if you have a legitimate, the Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins running backs, you want that guy starting too. But outside of that, I love depth. I want rotate as much guys in as you can get in because you're more fresh and you just keep throwing bodies at teams.
Well, I mean, what was one of the biggest complaints you and I have had for like the longest time, whether it be Urban or Tressel? It was that they would never get their depth chart involved. It was like Urban would not go to his third string guys unless they were up 50 points. Like, if you even think about it, think about the games that when Snead and Master Teague get in 18, those are the games that Urban suspended. Like, Ryan Day's the coach of those games. Yeah. So I've always thought that. I think Ryan Day is more under like the Saban, Dabo like type of principles that, get as many guys, as many reps as possible, as quickly as possible. And it's not that Urban was terrible at it, but he could have definitely done a lot more getting those younger guys involved earlier in games.
Definitely agree with that. I think with some of it's, and you don't have to sub out entire, we're going to put in our entire second team linebackers on this series. No, you don't have to do that. You can change things up with packages. Maybe, Mitchell's in on some packages and Tuff's in on other packages. And you just kind of, or this guy maybe on this type of package, Marcus Williams is playing, the corner, the inside corner, but here we're using two safeties on this package. So you get as much as your depth in as possible. Let them play. Let the kids play.
And I'm aware Urban Meyer got 90 wins at Ohio State in probably the shortest amount of time possible. But
I mean,
it's one small critique.
Yeah, I mean. We love Urban. It's just, but it's true. There's, sometimes you got to just, if you got the depth, man, use your depth at times.
Get them involved. That way they're ready.
Yeah. He did talk about, again, somebody actually, speaking of depth, somebody did ask him about the freshmen, and, he made it a little, it's not 7-on-7 anymore. It's basically, it's time to play now.
Yeah.
So, it's time to, it seems like from listening to some of the other coaches talking that some of these guys are starting, at least they're getting some reps in there at different times. So, I mean, that's a positive sign,
And it sounds like they're all doing a good job. I mean, we touched on that. We covered that one last time. I honestly don't think that, barring any injury or anything, I don't think you're going to get any disappointment from these four receivers.
And then basically just to finish it up, he asked us a couple questions on basically the administration at Ohio State. I mean, he had great praise for Christina Johnson. I think she unfairly took a lot of hits from Buckeye fans, and I probably said some stuff about her too that if I did, I take back, because she definitely comes out as much more of a fighter than I think a lot of us thought. I mean, none of us really knew her. I guess we were so used to Michael Drake that and he wasn't Gordon Gee, so
No.
I think a lot of us were just assuming that she was gonna the rollover too with the whole Big Ten debacle. So.
Yeah.
Ryan Day was very complimentary of her and of Jean. That I mean, they've shown great leadership through the whole thing. So kudos out to them for
absolutely
all that. Then just quickly over just Justin. Justin, of course, the vegan. He's a vegan now.
If he's in shape and he's a better player, I mean, I don't care. I know that.
I didn't think we were gonna see as many arguments the last several days on Buckeye Twitter about the veganism as I thought we were gonna get. Know. I mean, whatever. To each their own. I'm not a vegan. But I mean,
everyone's real into this though. That's what it's like. That's kind of like the big thing with all the beat reporters is they want to know more about him being a vegan. So it's kind of astonishing.
Yeah. I mean, nothing about anything else. Like,
they want to know about his diet.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have more questions as the season goes along. I would hope so.
Yeah. So he did talk about, he's basically the biggest thing he's working on is he just wants to have more knowledge of the game. He says he's studying more. Him and, Day are communicating even more this offseason than last offseason just to kind of get used to everything. He's asking questions, and it's just a lot of positive stuff. It's just definitely, I mean, I've been very impressed this whole offseason with his leadership just because of everything that happened. But,
yeah,
I mean, now he's really showing, at least he's coming off that he's really taking that this is business now.
No, yeah, I'm not really, worried anything about Justin, but he definitely, he seemed very excited. Go on. I know you have more to talk about with him.
Well, I just want to just going down a couple of these. He talked about, he says he says that basically, he's in incredible shape. He feels faster. He feels stronger. He's not planning on getting hit. I always love when they make those jokes when, That
was another thing people were blown out of proportion, though.
So, I mean, he's going to get hit. He's going to get, there's other, you either get one of two sides is either, he needs to be ran more or, make sure that he doesn't get hit at all.
Yeah.
I want other guys, I want the running backs to perform and stuff like that, but I like the added abilities of Justin Fields running the ball because it's going to just keep plays alive longer and, and him keeping a play. You look back last year when he had his bum wheel against Michigan, him rolling out of the pocket ends up being a touchdown to Garrett Wilson. So you never know when somebody's going to break open. So, I mean, or just his God-given just speed if he gets out in the open.
Sure.
And then basically talked about how the freshman wide receivers, he said they've really developed a lot of good chemistry so far with him. And I'm really excited about that. Just the thought about him with the receivers, both the vets and the rookies. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, and with him, it's just scary to think about.
Yeah, it really is scary to think about. Now, did he inadvertently say during this that Harry Miller's your starting left guard, but he did not list the starting right tackle? Was that him?
It seems like he did, but it seems like Harry Miller is definitely the starting left guard.
Yeah,
just because. I'll pull up the notes here in a minute. One of the D linemen made a comment today too about how they were asking him how the interior guys are, how they're doing, and he's like about how Miller and Davis are really pushing them, and so's Harry Miller, and well, definitely. And then he kind of backed off of Harry Miller being the starter, but he was originally mentioned. And,
yeah, I'm pretty sure Fields talked about Harry being the starter, and then he did not mention anything about a right tackle starter, that he was kind of like saying that it was still up in there.
Yeah.
But Day said himself that all positions are up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing it from what I copied here off of it. But I think he did. It just, some of these are all running in.
I know. They all kind of blur together after a while.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I know it was before the running backs, and I don't think any linebacker would bring that up. So I feel like it was Fields.
Yeah.
Like I would say 99% sure on that one.
Yeah. And then just to kind of go through, which one did I want to talk about? Oh, he did say that Jamison Williams and Trey Sermon were both the big standouts to him so far.
That's good. I mean, that's amazing.
I mean, it's definitely something I want to hear. And I mean, not really much else. I mean, they did ask him, of course, about the Heisman. And, he said, he didn't think going into last year, he didn't think he would be a Heisman finalist. I mean, he's definitely going to be most likely. I mean, he should be a finalist this year. And if he's a finalist this year, the Buckeyes had a great season, because, I mean, if he's not a finalist, then I don't want to, think about that right now.
They don't let Ohio State guys be finalists for the Heisman unless they're undefeated or have one loss.
Yeah, it seems like that's the thing. I mean, Tebow can win it with what he had
3 losses.
Yeah, and
I know he didn't lose to Florida State.
Not taking anything away from Tebow. I mean, he was a great college quarterback.
Yeah, he was. He was a great college quarterback. I mean, he was the first one that had like 50 total touchdowns, right? Between rushing and throwing the ball. So yeah, he had it was a great year. Great quarterback Tebow was. It was just like I said, it seems like Ohio State, unless they're undefeated or one loss, and even then, half the time they got some issue with that one loss.
Yeah. So I mean, we didn't get a lot from him. Actually, really, we haven't really gotten a lot from any of the players until today. I think the defensive line that's really where we got the most. So
yeah,
we're going to go into defensive line now, because it was originally today is going to be our defensive line breakdown, and then fit perfectly that it was also the press conference day for the defensive line. So
defensive line, I would say they definitely seemed as a whole unit. I don't know if they were just the most comfortable in front of the camera or most mature in front of the camera, but they definitely seemed like they had, the most explanation out of their answers.
Yeah.
So we got a lot today.
Yeah. So Larry Johnson started off. He was asked about what he thought about would he be able to rotate 6 guys into the interior. I mean, I think everybody understands the depth that we have on the outside, and they definitely get into the depth on the outside. But he definitely feels like they definitely have the horses for the middle, for the 3 technique, and for the nose guard. It sounds like both Antoine. It's Jackson, right?
Jackson.
Yeah, Antoine Jackson and Jerron Cager.
Cage.
It's Cage. Sorry about that. That they both, it seems like that they both can play both spots.
Yeah, he was confident that they can play both techniques.
So so he definitely talked about the rotation. You got Jackson and Togiai's definitely the starting nose. Nobody made any that's not a possibility.
No, there wasn't really much up in the air on that competition. He's your starting nose tackle.
From Tehran, they said that he's participating, but it doesn't sound like he's fully back yet. I mean,
he said he hopes that they got him back for game day. I mean, I'm a little worried about that, because what's he contributing then if he's not taking. I guess it really all depends on when you can get him ready to start prepping for game day.
Yeah. And with the depth, I mean, that's at least if you can get Teron Vincent out there maybe 20 plays in a game. I mean, that's still, the depth around you should help you in that type of situation.
You get him out there for, Penn State, that's a win.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people, Coach Johnson and a lot of the other guys really raved about Antoine Jackson. So it seems like, I mean, he's definitely taking the next step to really, I mean, he was heavy commit coming out. Of course, he went to Auburn over us. Then he, left Auburn, came back, committed then, or as a transfer, came as a transfer. So, I mean, I'm really excited to finally, hopefully, to get to see him on the field.
Yeah, and he had a lot of time, a lot of big guys that he's learned under. So that's always great. Of course, he's had a lot of years with Larry Johnson, so that can only be beneficial.
Yeah. For on Haskell, the shooting, he's not been fully cleared yet, but he's definitely participating. Which, I mean, you think about just from a couple months ago, and I mean, the fact that he's at this point, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
That's not even. I mean, we're talking not even 2 full months, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was right in the whole mix of the season being canceled.
Yeah, I don't think it's been 2 months yet. I could be wrong on that, but
we talked about it on here.
Yeah, it's not much over 2 months if it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good to hear, and that's great. I hope he gets in. I mean, again, the way that LJ likes to coach that defensive line, you throw as many bodies in there as possible. And, he's talked about, they definitely want to go 3 deep across the board on the defensive line. I love that. I've always loved that. I mean, you just keep throwing fresh bodies at offensive linemen.
Yeah.
He talked about how Zach Harrison has matured a lot, from last year to this year. I mean, he got he kind of poo-pooed it when he talked later, but I mean, to be a sophomore and to be invited to participate in the anti-hate, conferences that they've been doing with the league. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, at least it shows that for him to be chosen. I mean, that shows that people have respect for him.
He's a bright young man.
Yeah, I mean, loved some of the stuff he said. And LJ was very glowing talking about him. Somebody asked LJ about, how does he try to keep how does he keep him focused when you think about, the Bosa brothers and, Chase Young. And, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him. I mean, you want to be that next guy. And, LJ pretty much just said, kind of play within yourself. You don't have to be those guys. You just, come play your best. And, so it's just pretty cool. I mean, the one thing I got from today, and just probably your feelings on it, is that there's just like I would love to have played for a coach like him, because it's just like a calm feeling. I mean, I've seen him get pretty fired up and stuff. That he's definitely he can get intense, be an intense dude when he wants to be. But I don't know, he just brings a calming feeling when he's talking on those press conferences. That it's like, man, they got the best coach in America right there for probably any position. And
and you know what, after that, like, because I had said that all their coaches were impressive. I think Larry Johnson, and again, nothing against the rest of them, they were all impressive, but he definitely took the trophy home for having the best first press conference out of all those coaches. I mean, that guy was calm, articulate. How can anybody, if you're a top defensive lineman in America and you listen to that, how couldn't you want to go play for that guy?
Yeah,
and that's the type of thing. When you listen to him speak, when you listen to that today, that kind of just like reaffirms everything that we already knew, that, he is just the master of his craft. And this is why he gets these top guys, and even guys that might be, low 4-star, high 3-star, even though he doesn't get a lot of them, because he can just attract those top end guys.
Yeah.
Even when he gets project guys, though, he can make, the best of it. I mean, Sam Hubbard was he was a lacrosse player for one, I think.
Yeah.
And then he was a safety, and then a linebacker, and then a defensive end.
Yeah.
And Sam Hubbard's getting paid to play on Sundays now.
Yeah.
So that's he knows how to get these guys going. I mean, look at Jalen Holmes, same thing. Jalen Holmes got drafted.
Yeah.
And he's always the one that's kind of like, I don't want to say disrespected, but he's like the forgotten Rushman.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he was awesome too.
Yeah. Somebody did ask him about, if he kind of wants to go more back into the depth of 2017. You have so many good defensive line ends. I mean, you have Cooper, you have Zach Harrison, Tyreek Smith, Tyler Friday, and then Baptiste. So, I mean, he definitely said you're going to see some Rushmen packages out there.
You're going to have to.
Yeah,
you're going to have to, because that's where your depth is. I mean, he seemed very confident that he had 3 guys, or he had defensive tackles, at least 3 of them that could play, the positions that he needs in the interior. But You're going to have to sometime.
Oh,
You're going to see more Rushmen like you did in 2017.
When you get those 3rd and longs and stuff like that, I mean, when you can put guys like, just imagine Coop, Harrison, Smith, and Friday all on the field together.
Right.
I mean, I remember how I mean, they single-handedly, after JT Barrett's great performance in 2017, the last 2 series when, I mean, Penn State couldn't do anything against offensive.
I mean, it's just not fair when you got to throw the ball. How you can't stop all those guys.
Yeah, and they were
that's just too much.
Breathing down, it was McSorley's neck on that one. So, I mean, I'm just giddy to see that again.
Yeah.
He, again, going back to Antoine, he said that he definitely feels he can play both interior positions.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of praise for him. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him on the field. And then basically that was it. I mean, did you pick up anything more? Any things that really popped out to you?
No, just going to recap who we have coming back and what we're looking at. So, 17 sacks, 21 tackles for loss, 7 forced fumbles. You're losing that this year. Mm-hmm. And that was production from one man. So that's a lot to lose, but you got to remember, that was one person. However, with him and those 3 defensive tackles, Jay Sean Cornell, Davon Hamilton, B.B. Landers.
Yeah.
You're losing that from this team as well. So that's going to, I mean, that has to at least be over half your sacks from last season.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely scary to think about. And coming into this year, before actually today, when I actually got to hear some of these guys talk, and then I kind of remembered, oh yeah, that kid was a 5-star kid, and that kid was a high 4-star kid, and and now it seems just them actually getting reps. And sometimes, it's just hard sometimes to be you're expected to produce, but yeah, you're also expected to be on the field with 3 other guys that are just as highly recruited as you are, and they're producing too. And
right,
I wish at the end of last year, I think the most disappointed thing I was actually out of all of them was the defensive line, because Chase was getting double teamed and held on every single play and tackled at times. Usually 4 guys are on him. I mean,
it's not wrong though.
And
you, like you said, usually you'd be a triple teamed and they were still doing something illegal.
I mean, the Wisconsin had the guard, the tackle, and then the tight end or the running back, or when they were pulling his jersey as they were chipping. Yeah. So
I know it, man. It was, yeah. I would agree with that. We're going to talk a lot about those last couple games, like the breakdown here in a couple weeks, within the next 2 weeks, as we're getting closer to game day. We're going to talk a lot about that Clemson game and what, different things that we saw. But I agree with that really, when you needed a time for those guys to step up, it was that Clemson game. And sure, I mean, I think Friday, 6, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Does Zach Harrison, does he get one?
I don't know if he gets one or not.
He might get close
a couple
one.
times.
Yeah.
And everybody always talks about in those 3 games. I mean, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Clemson, and Penn State a little bit. Even that was a little bit of a different of a game. But I don't think everybody realizes. I mean, I remember a lot of people talking down, not Buckeye fans, just other fans from the country talking about Chase. He's not really that impressive. I mean, dude was literally getting held and tackled and blocked by 3 guys, and he still almost got to Lawrence how many times in that game.
Yeah, I mean
he was a couple steps away every single time.
We've seen how Chase is doing in the NFL. Those guys are crazy. We all know how good Chase is.
So those guys needed this. At that point, those guys, and maybe they got to, Chase will do it.
Yeah.
Chase is going to do it, so I don't now you have to do it.
You have to do it.
They have the talent. They definitely have the talent to do it. And I think, I was a little nervous coming into this season because, how they performed at the end of last year. But now I'm getting up there that I think, we're going to be right there with Alabama and Clemson's best defensive lines in America. And because I have enough trust in this depth, and I have enough trust in LJ.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you got Jonathan Cooper, who, he's healthy. He's a former 5-star. We're getting his 5th year. How many that he's worked with Larry Johnson, all 5 of them.
Yeah.
So, He'll be ready. Tyreek Smith, he's going to have a breakout year. He was a high 4-star guy. He had 3 sacks last season. He's going to get more playing time. He's healthy this year. He wasn't healthy last year. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, he's finally kind of up to the size they want him. He's long. He's fast. He's kind of like Jalen Holmes. I don't think he's as big as what Jalen was, but again, he's going to be a guy, like, he made plays. He had a sack and a half last year. Zach Harrison, he's in his second year. That guy's just a freak of nature. He had 4 sacks last season. And then you get into like guys like Tyler Friday, who, if anyone, and I know Larry told Austin Ward today that he wasn't gonna, give away his secrets and he wasn't telling him what's going on. If anyone is sliding down to that 3 technique, though, I believe it's going to be Tyler Friday.
Yeah.
That guy, and I know he's not even as heavy as the other guys because he's shorter than them. That guy just looks stronger than everybody on the defensive line.
The funny thing about Friday is that, and what LJ said today was that he didn't say anything, but he kind of confirmed it.
Right, I know. Austin definitely.
Like, that was a really good question, Austin. I'm not going to give you my thought on that, but it's a good thought on your part.
Definitely. Now, Tommy Togiai, he's going to be a stud. It's just, what's the depth around those guys? And I think that's where we're all kind of worried. But at the same point, I think we know it's all going to be okay with Larry Johnson. And again, the talent that they have. Haskell Garrett, he's still hurt. He's not cleared yet. Teron Vincent, hopefully they get him back. Antoine Jackson's doing great. He mentioned young guy Jaden McKenzie, who he is over, he's a 300-pound young man. So
and he was actually mentioned a couple times today.
They said how great he's been doing. So that's a guy that can fill in there. Jerron Cage, they mentioned, or Jaron Cage, I'm not sure how exactly you pronounce that. They said that he's another one that he can play both techniques. And he could be like a Jayshon Cornell, a guy that really was underwhelming until last season. And he could be on that same path as him. Let's see who else was, I don't know who else was mentioned. Ty Hamilton, Davon's younger brother, he was mentioned. Now, he's a true freshman. They did say that he's gained 25 pounds since he's been there, which that's hopeful with Mick that, that's the good type of weight that he's gaining. But sometimes when you're just getting those guys to the size you need, sometimes it's the eating habits that take over with that. I'm not sure how big of a contributor he's going to be, but Larry Johnson sounded like he was already very impressed with him.
Yeah.
Guy that's supposed, Darian Henry Young, he was a big get.
He was talked about a couple times.
He's
today.
another one I could see kind of like Tyler Friday that he could slide down to tackle. I know he wants to play end, but he's not built like the rest of the ends. He's built like a bigger guy. Like his frame could support being a defensive tackle. So if that's something that Larry Johnson, I think he believes that he needs to have done, I think he'll go that direction. And of course, there's guys that we're not even talking about that really didn't get mentioned, but they're there. Noah Potter, which I do think someone did mention him, but he's there for depth on that defensive end. Kermonte Hamilton, he was a tight end last year. Him and Cade Stover did a switch. So Jacoby Cowan, he's another freshman that came in. They got a ton of depth there. And they have guys that were behind depth over the last couple of years that have seen meaningful reps, or at least they've been with Larry Johnson for a couple of years now. So, like you said, it is scary to think about when you lose those defensive tackles, but I think you're in good hands, and I do think that you have enough behind what's going to ultimately be your starting line that you're not going to have to overwork anybody. And that's what's really important with those defensive linemen, or keeping them fresh.
Yeah, that's kind of just the thing I want to just harp on. I definitely think, if proven wrong at the end of the season, you're proven wrong at the end of the season. These kids, they're hungry, from especially hearing a lot of them today. They want to prove themselves, and, I think the depth's going to show itself that we have a lot of good defensive linemen on this team, and I think they're going to get in, and a lot of them are going to play, and I think a lot of them are going to make plays, and some of them, I look for Zach, and I look for a guy like Zach Harrison by the end of the year to be probably playing, a little bit more than just a quarter of the snaps on the defensive end spot. He probably won't be as rotated as much out, but he's still going to get rotated out, and because I think he's just a freak, and I think he's going to take the next big step. A couple of the guys mentioned how Tyreek Smith has the best first move out of all of them. And everybody, I mean, this is actually Tony Gerdeman kept on bringing this. I think he asked everybody this. They always was talking about the little things that LJ teaches them, and and when you actually listen to them start breaking it down, as they he gets on us about our hips not doing this, and how we need to have our wide arms, and so it's harder to block, and it's just like really impressive how your footwork needs to do this, and it's just why you have the best defensive line coach in America.
And there's great coaches out there, but he's just he's a notch above the rest.
Yeah,
he really is.
So,
and you've seen, I mean, proof is in the pudding, as they would say, is that you've seen what this defensive line has done since he's been here.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you kind of feeling the same way I'm feeling that I think they're going to take off as a defense. And I think at the end of the year, they're a top 3 defensive line in America. I think you're going to mention them right there with Clemson and Alabama. We'll see Clemson against a better opponent this week. But Alabama's, both of their lines are definitely being proved as advertised, in my opinion, so far from what I've seen so far this year. So
I still have questions about Clemson moving forward. But no, I agree with you, though. I mean, you got the depth, they're top end guys. And the thing is, it's not just a bunch of freshmen either. You got guys that have been there, they've been on college campus, they've been in college workouts, they've been going against the best college offensive line, at least, in the Big Ten in practice. So it's not like these guys have just been, playing Madden for a year or playing high school competition for a year. And then now they're coming in and they don't know, like they're not up to speed. Like they're up to speed. They just don't have all those meaningful game reps yet.
Yeah. All right. So, I did jot a couple of things. I'm just going to run down just a couple of things I thought was pretty interesting today from a couple of the guys. So Tyreek Smith mentioned that Togiai is definitely a leader, and he mentioned that he's becoming more of a student of the game. He's watching a lot more film, and he talks to Chase Young all the time. They mentioned how Chase kind of said, you're the next man up, and he's kind of said that, he's trying to, he's any one of them could be they're all, good, teams. They all look at each other, as leaders. He was talking about Zach, already it's pretty impressive how Zach's become a leader. Again, Antoine Jackson talked about, again, the little things. They all talked about the little things, which I thought was pretty cool. And it just basically said that, the reason why he came back to Ohio State, he thanked LJ and Urban for bringing him back. But, I guess his dad had a stroke, when he was at Auburn. And he said that, LJ just kept a great, communication with him. LJ is just a class act. You can definitely tell that. So, and he said that just that connection between him and his father was very pro Ohio State to begin with. So, so it was good to hear that. Togiai talked about, that he learned a lot from Devon last year, and that, and Devon had an unbelievable motor and just unbelievable strength, and I think Togiai could be even better than that. The dude just has so much strength, and he's gonna be a monster to deal with. You just think about how many times Devon and BB was in somebody's face, coming off the nose. Can you imagine what that dude's gonna be like? He was actually the guy that talked about, they asked him about the interior linemen, and he's like, well, Myers and Wyatt and Miller, they're all been showing good. And then he kind of backed off of Miller and just brought up Myers and Wyatt. But then he came back. Made him come back, asked him a question on Harry Miller, and said, he's definitely stepping up. So it seems like that's your starting interior offensial line.
And I think we all knew that anyways.
Yeah. And he says he's fine playing with the depth, but he'll take as many snaps that is required to him to take. So,
well, you want to win.
Yeah. So, and he mentioned Hamilton and Jaden McKenzie as guys that are definitely stepping up. And then just to go quickly through Javante Jean-Baptiste, he says Togiai is definitely he's leading by example out there. He personally feels more because he's definitely bulked up. When I saw him, I'm like,
no, I think he's going in around like 250 now.
Yeah,
that guy was like $190 when he came into college.
He says he feels much stronger and much more explosive. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him out there. I think all these defensive ends are just going to make such a. I mean, they're going to.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I said it's going to be like 2017 again, because you have way too much talent to keep these guys off the field.
Listening to Zach Harrison, I mean, talk about you would not think that kid was a sophomore. I mean, he just
no.
I mean, we talked about a little bit about him being on that anti-hate committee, but just listen to him talking about just the team and stuff, about how he's taken the extra responsibilities this year more seriously. He understands there's lots of expectations. He's just trying to live within himself, though, and so he's big on the depth too, because it's going to keep them all fresh, and that's what I always love to talk about. And he said they all coach each other up, and then basically Friday said that his body fat's down and he's more flexible, and he's pretty cool with moving into the inside if he has to. So
I mean, he's the one that stands out to me. When you look at the guy, you think he's someone that could just slide down and take on a guard. So I mean, if I could see it out of any of them, I'd see it out of Tyler Friday.
All right, so that was the defensive line.
And we honestly, I mean, that was such a quick breakdown, and I feel like we went pretty in depth into it though. But
it was a 2-hour press conference.
You could talk for hours about those guys though.
Yeah.
What Coach Johnson said, you could break down everything he said, and you could just talk for hours about that.
Yeah, definitely. So just to we're going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. Just quick thoughts on the last couple of things.
Yeah.
So Big 12 has just proven that they're actually an even bigger disaster than we thought they were last week. We thought they were a pretty big disaster last week.
I don't like using terms like dumpster fire, because it's stuff that's just said too much and there's not a lot of substance to it. But the Big 12 is a dumpster fire, and I mean, especially Oklahoma and Texas, because you know what? They're probably still the two best teams out there, but what a disappointment, what a letdown those teams are. Year in, year out.
So they both lost this week. They both should have lost last week, even though Oklahoma did lose. Texas should have lost. I mean, Texas Tech left them off.
And unfortunately, only one of them can lose this week because they're playing each other.
Yeah. So, yeah.
They're bad.
I mean, definitely the Big 12's out now. I mean, there would have to be such a disaster. And even at this point, like, the committee is going to have in front of them the ACC champion, the Big Ten champion, and 2 SEC schools. That is the worst you're going to get. Like,
You've watched a lot of college football. You've watched a lot of football. You've seen how these things play out. Sometimes guys get, third, fourth, fifth lives that we never thought they were going to get. Sometimes guys end up coaching the Browns and they're, done before their first season's over. So in your mind, if you were a betting man, is Tom Herman on the sidelines of Texas next year?
No.
I don't think so either.
Because I think Oklahoma's going to beat them this week.
I think the only thing that...
And they're not going to make the Big 12 title.
In your mind, if you were a betting man, is Alex Grinch coaching with Oklahoma next year?
He shouldn't be.
Absolutely not.
Actually, I think if my 2 choices are...
Grinch or Herman.
I think there's more likely that Grinch gets fired than Herman gets fired. I think Herman's getting fired, though.
I do, too. And I think maybe the one saving grace that he might have is this is year 1 of Yursich and Ash. That might be enough to help him out.
I just don't know if those people were down there will think about that. I saw some of their boards this week. I mean, they're ready to run them out now.
Does any college react to a lynch mob the same way Texas does? I mean, I feel like their fan base is more powered than anybody. I could be wrong on that, but of course, maybe that's because all the other big-time colleges with big-time fan bases, they actually win. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd say Herman's gone because they're not going to care about making that switch. Those fans, they'll pay him and pay whoever they want. I mean, you know who they really want. I'm not convinced he's leaving the booth.
No.
But he's going to get a lot of money thrown at him. So
I still would like to see him at USC. If anywhere, I don't want Urban to go anywhere, but I really want to see USC come back. I don't really care so much about Texas, coming back or not.
Yeah.
USC, I mean, Mac Brown had a great year. They won that one, but it's like USC is like the U for me. You know, college football is fun when they're back.
Yeah. And they should be. I mean, both of those schools should be there.
There's no excuse for those 3 schools to ever go away.
Yeah. I mean, they should literally. I mean, they have just talent.
The best recruiting hotbeds in America, and all those schools are, mediocre. Which we'll get to Miami here. I mean, are we going to them now? Or
yeah, let's go.
All right. So Miami against Clemson. We talked about before Miami's safety is out for the first half. Clemson's going to be able to throw on anybody, I think. So I do think Clemson's going to win this game. I'm kind of up in the air if it's going to be an easy one or not. I do think, though, at the end of the day, I think Clemson's going to win by at least 10 points. But I don't know. If any team's going to give them a game, I think it could be Miami. Miami does have a real quarterback finally. De'Aaron King has played good so far this year. And Clemson, I was not, for as much as they beat Virginia by, I wasn't sold on that team. Maybe they were just playing down to their competition. I know they kicked the snot out of them, but
I'm not sold.
It just didn't look good.
I'm not sold on their offensive line.
No, and they replaced a lot on their offensive line. I don't think their offensive line was as great as what they were.
And I'm not just talking about
to be last year.
I'm not talking about just the Ohio State game last year. I mean, Lawrence took some licks last year, so I mean, at different times.
I don't know, Miami. I mean, if they draw,
they're gonna bring athletes.
If they draw up the defense for him, he might get hit a few times. I don't know. He hasn't made errant passes in a long time, though. He throws over everyone's head on the sidelines, of course, anymore. But
yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be. My personal.
And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is overrated. That was just
my personal opinion. It's going to be a 10 to 17 point win, but I would not be surprised if it's under 10. I think we're going to see a lot. It'll be if Miami doesn't pull a Miami and
gets
stupid penalties and start doing dumb Miami crap, they're like the Raiders. They're the Raiders of college football. It seems like all their personalities always go with that they'll get the personal fouls. They don't give a crap. And it's like, if they play within themselves, I think they could challenge them. I mean, Clemson still has too much for them, but I mean, Manny Diaz might be the right coach for Miami. And, if Miami starts coming, if they start progressive, and then Dabo, he's going to start having a real challenge. Because Miami, they are in a talent hotbed and they can recruit down there. And none of those other Southern schools are that close to Miami. Miami is really kind of separated from all of them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they should have the pick of the litter of the kids that are in that geographical region.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I think Clemson wins, but who knows, man? Like I said, I'm not sold on Clemson. They did not look good. I know it was, like I said, they beat Virginia by a lot, but it wasn't pretty how they got there.
Yeah. And then to finish off the show, if maybe we are getting back to normal. So I was told this week that Michigan has a Heisman quarterback. I mean, he's Cam Newton,
Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady. I'm sure there's someone else that has rolled up in there.
I think somebody mentioned Dante Culpepper. I mean, any big dude that's out there, he is him.
Any big guy that has an arm and, Cam Newton can some mobility. Is Joe Milton? Milton is the second coming of this person.
Yeah.
So how does Shea Patterson beat this guy out for 2 years?
Yeah, if this is God, what the hell?
This Adonis of a human being, how is little Shea Patterson, how is he the starting quarterback when you had this guy on the sidelines? What, you didn't want to beat Urban? You didn't want to beat Ryan Day?
Yeah.
I'm gonna save this for year 3. Yeah. Now he'll be ready.
This is next year.
Wait for next year.
Yeah.
When we unleash Joe. Like, why did you let your team lose by 26 points 2 years in a row?
Yeah, exactly. They're back. I mean, it's, we got our Heisman Trophy winner for September. I mean, it'll be the October Heisman Trophy winner this year. But we
heard a good one today, though.
This will actually be the first time in a long time that the Michigan Heisman Trophy winner will actually enter in November.
Yes.
So
hopefully.
Well,
It's a bad first 2 weeks if he doesn't. Who knows? I don't know what Minnesota's going to dial up for them. But no, we heard a good one today.
Yeah,
though.
Mr. What's it? Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson.
So was it Don Brown? Who said it on the team? Or no, it was Sam Webb. That's who said it. That he's like he started the comparisons with Joey Bosa.
Bosa-esque. Now
the Bosa brothers. I don't know which one because they're pretty much the same guy, but.
So, I mean, I can only say, because you look at him, he kind of looks like Nick a little bit. So I would say only maybe by appearance, like taller, white guy, kind of resembles Nick Bosa. Maybe that's what they're going for. Because if you're talking about play, if you're saying someone's Bosa-esque, you're saying that they're a top 3 NFL draft pick.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, I saw some people beat up on Isaiah Prince. Like, what was the AJ Hawk ripoff? What was his name?
Voinovich or Vonovich?
Winovich?
Yeah.
The Revenge Tour. So, yeah, I mean, AJ Light, he's, he wasn't that good. At least he was, he was good. He's not on Bosa level, though. And he's better than Hutchinson.
Yeah. So, whatever. Just because he wears 97 and he's white. So.
That's all I took from it. I mean, I don't know what else it could be.
He wasn't a legit. Was he as big as a recruit coming out of high school? Was either one of them?
I don't know. Shut me up. I mean, prove me wrong, but to say that guy's on Bosa level, that's just insanity right there. You're saying that he is a top 3 NFL draft pick by saying that.
And then
because Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, I mean, until they actually got into their seasons, I think both of them were considered that they were the top NFL draft picks going into their last years on campus. So, I mean, you always have that quarterback.
They were definitely the top defensive end coming off the board.
Yes. You always have those quarterbacks or two that end up going, in front, unless you get that Myles Garrett year where you didn't have that guy, or the Jadeveon Clowney year where you didn't have that guy. Yeah. But when you're saying that someone is on the same level as 2 guys that were projected to be the first pick of the draft their final years on campus, he better be pretty damn good.
And Aiden, I'm going to tell you right now, Jonathan Cooper and Tyreek Smith are both getting drafted in front of you this year. So
I don't know about that, but it could happen.
Yeah, they are. Both of them. We'll write that one down. That one's
bold prediction.
Yeah, that's my prediction. They are both going to get drafted in front of them. I don't know what fell, but whatever. As long as it's not.
I don't think it was a bottle.
As long as the glass behind us. All right, so I think we'll call it a night there.
That's a good spot to leave off.
Just wanted to remind everybody to, please subscribe to us across all of our networks: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Listen to us on all the podcast networks. We're all on the major ones. We got some, we're still working on a couple different show ideas. Hopefully we'll be rolling them out here shortly.
Yeah.
So we had a fun night tonight. Definitely starting to feel like we're really getting close now. I really got fired up listening to LJ today. So it's like
2 weeks
starting
on Saturday.
to really, really think like we're starting to get there. So I'm pretty pumped right now.
Yep, 2 weeks on Saturday. We're getting so close, guys. So we good then?
Yep, we're good.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
I'm Mike.
OH.
I-O. Well, thank you for watching here, the Buckeye Bar guys, here on the Buckeye Bar Talk network. Please subscribe to the network, and when you get the little notification bell, just hit that. Hit all notifications. That way you will get alerted when all the new episodes come up. Comment, like the show, and we hope you join our community. Come join our bar.
Like, comment, share. I'm John. That's Mike. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.